So I always like to say that great ideas are a dime a dozen, but great executors and a great mindset is really hard to come by. Today I'm joined with Travis Marziani, a super successful Amazon seller. We're going to be talking about the reasons why people are successful in Amazon. So let's talk about something that I know you've mentioned a lot, which is the concept of done is better than perfect.
I think this is really important. It's something I struggle a lot with because I am very much an analysis paralysis type of personality. I want to think through everything. I want to figure out all the little details, and it's impossible. Like, we talk about this all the time. You can't possibly see every obstacle that's going to come, and at the same time, if you really try to make something perfect, you're never going to release it. And I do this a lot of times on YouTube. I did this with Performance Nut Butter, Vino Cards, like all these different businesses. I do this.
Yeah, when I was first starting out, I remember anticipating and trying to predict all of the things that potentially could go wrong 6 months down the line. Yeah. And I think that's a really good practice to do, but 6 months down the line is really obsessive. But what ended up happening is 6 months down the line, all the things that I thought were going to happen weren't even problems at all.
And in Silicon Valley, they have this idea of iteration. So you have a version 1.0, a version 2.0, version 3.0. And Eben Pagan, who I joined his mastermind, he talks a lot about you should be shooting for version 3.0. Version 1.0 should be, he talks more about this like with info products and things like that, but it's also, I think, true with physical products. It's like, get something out there that's pretty darn good, knowing that you can make it better over time. But it's, in my opinion, it's better to get something out a year earlier than trying to get the perfect thing out, a year later.
Yeah. And then there's that saying that if you're not embarrassed by your first product, you've probably launched too late.
Yeah. If not embarrassed by like the first iteration, first product, whatever. Yeah. I've seen that over and over again. And I mean, like, again, I've spent hours on YouTube videos. YouTube's been a lot more of my focus recently. I spent hours on my YouTube video trying to decide whether or not one graphic literally should be at the beginning. Mm-hmm. One sound effect should be within the first 5 seconds. I'm like, hey, do one iteration with it, one iteration. And it's so, when I catch myself doing that, it's like, it's time just to release this video.
Yeah, and the truth is just the experience of taking action is going to teach you far more than anything that you could study up on before even taking that action.
100%. And I think that's something this comes with experience. It's like you get really good at jumping into the pool. And you eventually figure out when's the right time to jump in, when's the right time to do things. And if you're constantly in analysis paralysis, you're constantly thinking about this kind of stuff, you're not getting real world experience. Where on the flip side, I'd put my money on someone that's launched 3 versions of a product as opposed to someone that's spent a year trying to make it perfect. It's like the person that's launching the real product is going to get real customer feedback, which is worth so much more.
Yeah, it's like you don't learn to become Michael Jordan by reading a book.
No, exactly.
You play 10,000 hours, you shoot a ton of free throws.
Yeah, and
you just play.
You got to get out there. You got to make mistakes, and the only way to make mistakes is realizing it done is better than perfect.
Yeah, 100%. So the next mindset topic is surrounding yourself with people that are better than yourself.
That's James. So that's why, honestly, a lot of my success in life has come when I started my success with Amazon in e-commerce and all that kind of stuff started happening more and more when I started surrounding myself with more people that are more successful than me. And we could spend an hour on this one alone. But some of the reasons why is, first off, you see what's possible. When you see another human that's just another human, it's just another person, and you get to interact with them in real life and you see, oh yeah, they're having more success than me, it makes you realize, oh, this thing is possible. But also, a big thing, and we've talked a lot about this, is if I have an issue, I can go to James and be like, oh my God, like this is such a bad issue. I can either do choice 1 or choice 2. And he can look at me and he can say without any emotion, dude, just do choice 1. Or he could say, it's not a big deal. It doesn't matter. Like that doesn't matter.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like when you're emotionally invested in a product or a business or a problem, it is super hard to think objectively. So really surrounding yourself with people who can help you, who can guide you, who can help you make decisions without that emotional fluff is highly valuable.
And different people have different expertise. Like James, he might ask me a question on hiring a virtual assistant, and I might ask him a question on some Amazon stuff, or just different perspectives. Maybe you have 5 different friends that all have different expertise, and you can ask them, hey guys, what do you think about all these different things? And this is one of those things that if you really want to have a lot of success in any field, doesn't just have to be entrepreneurship, surrounding yourself with people that are successful. Like if you wanted to be the best dad, like go hang out with a bunch of people that are really good dads. Don't hang out with your single friends from college, for instance.
Yeah, and I think humility comes into play as well, because a lot of people tend to be threatened by other people who are doing the same thing or in the similar field. But just realize that, most people don't have the answers, and there's something to be learned from everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next mindset tip that I wanted to cover was the idea that there's beauty in simplicity. I think when people want to launch products, they start thinking about the numbers. They think about, okay, how many units is this particular product selling per month? Let's get into that. I really encourage people to start thinking about 3 to 5 steps ahead, and really how it's going to be impacting their life. I mean, because at the end of the day, we have a life to live, and we want to be able to enjoy that. Right. So if you're creating, a product, this is a huge life decision, and if it's just going to add stress and problems, etc., then what's the point, right? Well, the whole point is to create financial independence and really build out the life full of fulfillment that you want to live.
So it's thinking about it more, I 100% agree with this, thinking about it more holistically. It's not just about the short term, how much money am I going to make, but it's like, what's the long-term strategy? Like, and this is what I did, obviously, with Performance Nut Butter. It's how can I create a product that's going to make my life better? Not how can I create a product that's going to make me the most money? How can I create a business that's going to make me the most money? But it's what's the thing that I want, which in my case was freedom.
Yeah, so I think a good question to ask yourself is begin with the end in mind. And just be honest with yourself, like what do you want in life? And then work backwards. And oftentimes it's not necessarily the $10 million revenue.
Right.
It may be a $500,000 a year revenue. And people become so obsessed with making more and more money that they forget how to live. And the reality is, like for most people, a few $100,000 a year allows them the freedom to really do whatever you want. And
for most people, $100,000, like
right.
And that was one of the things. I mean, kind of talking about some other stuff we talked about, but a lot of times I'll look at people that are making way more money than me, and I'm like, oh man. But would I trade my life for their life? No.
No way.
Like Performance Nut Butter was making a little over $100,000 profit per year. And I get some flack on YouTube. People are like, that's not enough money for you to be teaching this. I'm like, I'm making as much money as I want, and I have tons of freedom.
But forget about the business. Like, look at the life that you're living.
Exactly.
I mean, you're doing exactly what you want to do. You're at the beach almost every day.
Yeah.
You're traveling constantly, spending months at a time in different countries. I mean, forget about the $100,000.
Right.
It's life. Like, it's not just about the money. It's what kind of life do you want to build for yourself. So this next mindset hack, and I think it's near and dear to me, is just really not having a scarcity mindset. And we've talked a lot about this as well. So what are your thoughts on the scarcity mindset? To me, it's a really toxic mindset to have. Yeah.
I mean, I could talk about this again for so long. I think that I grew up in, and no offense to my parents or anything like that, but I grew up in a little bit, I think most people grow up in a little bit of a scarcity mindset. And the difference, the scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset, and it's kind of this like zero-sum game. And so I think growing up, there's a little bit of, if other people are having success, it kind of comes at your expense. Where eventually you start realizing that your friends can have success, which makes you more successful. Not even just your friends, like your competitors can have more success, that there's more than enough for everybody. I mean, what are your thoughts? That maybe we should...
Yeah, I think that if you're coming from a scarcity mindset and that FOMO mindset, that ultimately leads you to be making really bad decisions.
I completely agree. For instance, if you're always trying to do, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about, if you're always trying to do things just for the money, you're not seeing the bigger picture here. The biggest success I had in my life, all my biggest successes have been things that I would do for free. Like launching Performance Nut Butter was fun for me. And what happened is launching Performance Nut Butter, the first year or so of Performance Nut Butter was a blast, but then it started being about the money. At a certain point, I stopped enjoying it, but I kept doing it because I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this. People on YouTube want me to do this. But nowadays, I really, I would make YouTube videos for free. And I think because of that, I have extra energy. It doesn't drain me at the end of the day. Like I could film a bunch of YouTube videos and it's fun.
Yeah.
And that's when you can get out of that scarcity. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When you can get out of that scarcity mindset, and it does help. Let's be honest. If you can make a little bit of money to pay the bills, it helps you get out of the scarcity mindset. And you can start thinking creatively and connecting dots and seeing, oh yeah, if I help James create a better YouTube channel, he's going to have success, and then later on he's going to help me and I'm going to help him.
Yeah, and I mean, you turn into kind of like the type of person who is just, oh, I don't know if I could share my information. I don't want to share my ideas. And the reality is, like, the people that can actually execute, that's really rare. It really takes people with a healthy mindset. Coming from a scarcity mindset, I mean, that leads you to make decisions like jumping on the fidget spinner bandwagon, or something that I'm personally guilty of is investing in hoverboard scooters. And you know, I have an entire video on Travis's channel talking about that mistake, but definitely scarcity mindset and avoiding that at all costs. So the last and final mindset tip that I think is one of the biggest contributors to success, again, it's not necessarily about the product that you choose. It's all about mindset. It's 80% mindset, 20% product, is relentless determination.
This is such a great one. Yeah, so here's the thing. I firmly believe everybody in the long run that sticks with entrepreneurship will be successful. I've told you a little bit about it, but I don't even think I can convey the emotional downs, because I went from a corporate job making $80,000 a year, and it took my first year out of my corporate job, the first year being full-time entrepreneur, I made $5,000 profit. Big freaking deal. Next year, $10,000 profit. Next year, $20,000 profit. Next year, $40,000 profit. So 4 years of being a full-time entrepreneur, and I was making half what I was at the corporate job. But this is where things got interesting. It's the year after that, $80,000. The year after that, hundreds. It's doubled like every year. And it's because, I think it's relentless determination, like keep going. But at the same time, it's like, what you should do is honestly hit your head against the brick wall, see if you can break it. But if you can't, maybe go to a different spot in the brick wall. Try to find the cracks. And what you start doing too is you start saying, how come that guy broke through the wall? How come he's able to do it and I'm not? And you're like, oh, that's how I found Amazon.
Yeah, yeah. When you get to the point ultimately where you start to see the matrix.
Yes.
Right? I think that's a huge thing. And I think the important thing to remember is that everybody has their own pace. Everybody has their own speed. So it's not a good thing to really look at what other people are doing and how fast they're attaining a level of success. I mean, one thing that you can look at is just how consistently relentless they are, because there's always, you know, a variety of other factors like luck and timing and things like that. But the point is, they're relentless. They don't give up. They just keep going.
Yeah, and I mean, this is also where jealousy kind of comes in. In my life, I've seen a lot of times I'll get jealous. I'll see someone else's success and I'll get jealous. And at my better moments, I'm able to look at their success and be like, yeah, I'm jealous about that. Why? How can I get that? And that's what happened on YouTube. I saw people that had more success than me on YouTube, and I'm like, okay, why are they more successful? Actually, it started first with Amazon. There was a guy that I knew that was selling on Amazon. He was having a ton of success, and I'm like, it took me so long. He was in his first year selling on Amazon. He was making as much as I was making selling on my own website by year 4 or something like that. And so I'm like, what is he doing differently than me? And then the light bulb moment went off, and I'm like, oh, he's selling on Amazon. I'm trying to sell on my own website. Maybe I should start selling on Amazon. Same thing happened. I saw YouTubers that were having more success than me, and I studied their channel. I broke it down. I'm like, what are they doing? And then you start noticing, oh, I'm doing this wrong. I'm hitting my head against the wrong part of the brick wall.
And I think the important thing is really taking what other people are doing and turning a negative thing into a positive thing, and really being inspired by what other people are doing.
Yeah, it's being inspired, but it's learning from other people's mistakes. I mean, and look, you say this all the time, comparison is the thief of joy. I see myself, I'll go on, even though my YouTube channel is fairly successful, I'll go on there and I'll see other people that are having more success than me. And sometimes they don't even have more success than me. It's just they had one video that did really well and I get jealous. And when I catch myself, I'm like, okay, what can I learn from this experience? That's the key, is like, as humans, I think learning from others is such a huge thing.
Well, let's take your subscribers. I mean, you're like the rate of subscribers that you were getting as an example of like you just kept at it. I mean, you've been doing this for a really long time, and it's
5
like
years.
the crawl, walk, then run thing. But at the rate now, I mean, you're just getting a ton of subscribers every week. I mean, at the rate that, I mean, it would have taken you an entire year, like a couple of years ago, to get it what you get in a month.
It's true, but now the funny thing is, I look at other people that are even growing faster, and I'm trying to. I think you kind of level up and you say, okay, cool. And you're right, because a lot of people watching this would be like, I'd kill to have my YouTube channel that's making a decent amount of money. But I think it's always, I don't know, it's always looking for me personally, and maybe this is another hack, is how could I do a little bit better? You know, I think the people that are going to have success are the ones that are always asking themselves, how could I do a little bit better? Getting feedback from other people around them saying, how can I do a little bit better? Taking that advice. And then they keep going, and then they take a step back, and they've tried to figure it out.
Yeah, as I mentioned, 80% of success in Amazon or any business is mindset. So definitely work on yourself. And not to say any the practical, tactical tips aren't important, but you should definitely watch them. We have a video together on the 7 secrets for Amazon success. Definitely click on that. Once again, Travis, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. And click on the video.
Yeah.